Okay, so these two discussions will be done today along with the bending losses and if possible material dispersion derivation followed by an example problem. Okay, so this will be dealt today. So coming to Mie scattering, so see that it is MIE, it is a Mie scattering which is a sort of linear scattering which occurs in a fiber. But why it occurs in a fiber? It occurs due to the imperfections in the fiber geometry. Okay, whenever I say imperfections, that is based on the structure of the fiber. So that is what we consider here as fibers geometry. So whenever I say imperfections is based on the core and the cladding. Okay, normally when I go with the imperfections, it is related to either core or a cladding. There might be some um, any problem in terms of a profile or in terms of a fiber geometry in a core part or in a cladding part. Okay, so it is due to the irregularities in the refractive index of core cladding. Okay, so this is the first imperfection. It is due to the irregularities in the refractive index of core cladding. So what does this mean? It means that if I consider a core of a fiber which may be a graded index fiber or a step index fiber, we have the structure of the fiber to be a constant, like we have the refractive index of the fiber in a step index fiber at the core with constant refractive index. Okay, if I consider it is not constant, there is some irregular structure which is nothing but affecting the refractive index. If I go with the concept of this, so this is a step index fiber and this is a core part of the fiber. And if I say core part of the fiber, the refractive index of the core will remain same from this point to this point. It is constant. That we have seen in the description of fiber profile. Now, if I consider irregularities in the refractive index, it means that this refractive index, what we have is N1. N1 is not constant from this point to this point. In any part of the fiber core, there might be irregular structure. Okay, there might be irregular structure. So maybe like this, because it is a microscopic structure. Okay, you can see this particular part, what I have written. It might be irregular geometry of a fiber core. So that is irregularities in the refractive index. If this physical structure is irregular, it means that refractive index is also irregular. Okay, whatever value of N1 I consider in the fiber core, it is not same from this point to this point. So this entire point, what I consider, may not have the same refractive index. So here at this point, wherever I have written irregular structure, there might be a refractive index lesser. Okay, so if I consider N1 is 1.48 of a core, at this particular point where the irregular geometry of the fiber appears, it may not be 1.48, it may be 1.479. So that is irregularity. Okay, then core cladding refractive index differences along the fiber length. We have seen a core cladding relative refractive index, so that is delta. Okay, so if I consider Ri differences, that is refractive index differences of core and cladding, it is not constant or it is not same along the fiber length. At one particular, say a fiber is 2 kilometer length, fiber is of 2 kilometer length, and for initially 1 kilometer, the core cladding refractive index difference is constant. Then after some meters in a fiber, there might be irregular value of refractive index difference of core and cladding. It is not constant. Okay. So that is what we have considered along the fiber length. So for 2 kilometer, if I consider a fiber, it should be constant. But somewhere within this 2 kilometer length of the fiber, there might be refractive index difference, which is not constant, irregular value, imperfection. Okay. Then diameter fluctuations and the presence of bubbles, etc. So many things may arise. It is not only just the presence of bubbles, but it is one of the factor. So one is diameter fluctuation. So what is this diameter fluctuation? If I consider a core and a cladding, so if I consider this as a core of the fiber, and for the same example, I take 2 kilometer length of the fiber. Throughout the length of the fiber, there should not be any fluctuation in the diameter of the fiber core. Okay, so for example, if the fiber core diameter is say 5 micrometer, at some interval of at some length of the fiber L, it may not be 5 micrometer, it may be 5.1 micrometer or 4.9 micrometer or 5.01 micrometer, but it is not exactly 5 micrometer. It means that there is fluctuation in the diameter. Okay, and presence of bubbles. This presence of bubble is nothing but during the fabrication. You can see that it is caused by manufacturing process. During the fabrication or manufacturing any fiber, there might be any method or there might be any step during which the bubbles may be introduced into it during a process of heating or during a process of refinement. The bubbles may enter the fiber core or a fiber cladding. So that is nothing but presence of bubbles. Even that can happen. Okay, so that is one of the imperfection. Kartikeya, everyone joined?
Yes, sir.
Around how many?
61.
61. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Good. Then coming to the next part of scattering, how it can be reduced. So just now we have seen three different imperfections which may exist in an optical fiber, but how to reduce it? So that is the main concern. So how to reduce this? First thing, one is removing imperfection during the manufacturing process. Okay, so due to the glass manufacturing process, we can get some imperfections. So that imperfection can be reduced, okay, by removing the imperfection during the manufacturing process. Okay, so that should be taken care whenever a fiber is fabricated or glass is being manufactured and this glass is used for fabricating a fiber. So a proper step is required to be used in order to remove imperfection. Okay, so that is done normally during a fabrication or a manufacturing process. Then careful controlled extrusion and coating of the fiber. Okay, so this happens due to the variation or fluctuation in the fiber core diameter. Careful controlled extrusion. It means that whenever I say fiber end or fiber end faces or fiber core, it undergoes some process of refinement and it also undergoes some process of polishing and preparation. So we normally consider these two methods. One is polish, one is preparation. Polish and prepare the fiber. The fiber end faces are prepared or the end faces are to be polished, okay, in such a way that the fiber end faces are made perpendicular to the cladding surface. So this is what the requirement of polish is in the case of optical fiber. Okay, so these two are to be done properly. So that is nothing but careful controlled extrusion. So that is a process which is done for a process of preparation and polishing the fiber. When if the surface of the fiber is not uniform. It is to be made uniform. So that is controlled extrusion process. It means that if any additional element is, or if additional material is on the fiber core or a cladding, it has to be removed. It has to be removed. It has to be made smooth. It has to be made constant. The surface should be made smoother. So in order to do that, we require a process of extrusion. So that is called as extrusion, which is a controlled extrusion. And coating of the fiber. Coating is nothing but the outer layer. So whenever the outer layer is required for a fiber to be done, it has to be done in a careful manner, or proper coating of the fiber has to be taken care. So that is one way of reducing the imperfection. The other, increasing the fiber guidance by increasing the relative refractive index difference, that is delta. So, see, whenever I say just a conventional fiber, the conventional fiber is used only to accept the light into it. It can guide only the light into it. Other than that, it doesn't have any other function to do with. But if I consider proper guiding of light, that can be done by properly by increasing the relative refractive index difference, that is delta. By increasing the refractive index delta, proper guidance of light can be done in a fiber. So that is value of delta to be increased. Okay, so that is how we can reduce the imperfection. So that is one of the method of reducing imperfection. So first thing what we have is a Mie scattering. It is due to the imperfections of the fiber geometry and the causes due to which the Mie scattering occurs. And these are the three causes based on which the scattering occurs. And it can be reduced by these three processes. So this is what we consider under Mie scattering. They might ask you to explain Mie scattering losses or explain linear scattering losses in optical fibers. Okay, so you should be able to explain what is Mie scattering loss and how the imperfection occurs and how it is reduced or minimized. Then next what we have is fiber bend losses. So these fiber bend losses depends on how the fiber is bent, whether the fiber is bent with a very small radius or with a very high bend is done. So that is what we consider as a fiber bend loss. Fiber bend loss occurs when the fiber is bent. Okay. So that is caused due to the losses due to the curvature and losses caused by an abrupt change in the radius of the curvature. So whatever bending is required, so if this is a fiber and this bending of the fiber is done, if this is a fiber, the bending of the fiber is done. So at this point the fiber is bent, but there is some RC, that is what we call it as a radius of curvature. Now if there is any change or a sudden change or abrupt change in the radius of curvature, we consider the losses which occur due to the sudden change of RC is a bending loss. Okay, it means that the radius of curvature is limited. The radius of curvature has some value, so you cannot bend a fiber beyond this value of RC. If you bend it, then there is a loss. That loss is bending loss. Okay. And the bending loss can be classified into two types. One is micro bending, one is macro bending. That is depending on how you are going to bend the optical fiber, by a small change in the radius of curvature or by a larger change in the radius of curvature. Okay. So the sharp bend of the fiber causes significant radiative losses and also possibility of mechanical failure. Okay. So the mechanical failure is nothing but the fiber may brittle. The fiber may brittle, which is resulting in a mechanical failure. Mechanically, the fiber may break. Okay. So that is mechanical failure of a fiber if you bend it more than some value of RC. So optical fibers suffer radiation losses at bends or curves on their paths. Okay. Then this is due to the energy in the field. So this field is to be noted down. It's a very important one. It is called as evanescent field. Okay, so what is this evanescent field? That is a field which is created whenever the fiber is bent beyond radius of curvature RC. Beyond some value of RC, if the fiber is bent, then the abrupt change or sudden change what you get in the value of RC results in a creation of field at that particular point where the fiber is bent. And that field which is created during the process of bending at a point where the fiber is bent is called as evanescent field. But what happens in that evanescent field? That is very important. If I say evanescent field, due to an evanescent field which is created at the fiber bent surface, the losses occurs. But what happens in that evanescent field? See, in the evanescent field, the signal exceeds the velocity of light in the cladding. So this is very important. So if I say evanescent field, then you should know that what happens in the evanescent field. So in the evanescent field, that is at the bend, I told you that at the bend, the evanescent field is created and the signal exceeds the velocity of light in the cladding. So this is what happens when you bend the optical fiber. The signal will exceed the velocity of light in the cladding and hence causes the light to be radiated from the fiber. So this is nothing but due to the evanescent field. So this is very important when you explain the bending losses. There is an evanescent field due to which the signal exceeds the velocity of light in the cladding and hence causes the light energy to be radiated from the fiber core. So this is what you are supposed to consider. Then the radiation loss from the bent fiber depends on two different values. One I told you, radius of curvature R or RC. Okay, either it is R or RC. And field strength of certain critical distance from the fiber axis where power is lost through radiation. So this is due to the evanescent field, EF. Okay, this is due to the evanescent field and other is due to the radius of curvature. So if the radius of curvature is changing its value more and more, then the intensity of this or the velocity of light which is exceeding in the cladding is more and more due to the evanescent field. The field becomes stronger and stronger. It means that velocity of light in that cladding at the bending surface will increase more and more as there is increase in the RC. Okay, so this is how the fiber bend is considered in an optical fiber. See, you can see this. Here it is escaped ray. Escaped ray is nothing but radiated out. The light ray is radiated out of the fiber. So information is lost in such case. So this is a bending loss. Here you can see in the second diagram. So here it is a field and it is taken as a radiation. Okay. So this is the diagram what you can use it for a bending loss. Then types of bending losses. Okay. So these types of bending losses depends on two types. That is a small change in RC or a larger change in RC. So bending losses can be two types, micro and macro bending. So micro bending is a loss due to the small bending or distortion. Okay, itself says that it's a micro, small. The small micro bending is not visible. It is very difficult to identify a micro bending loss. The losses due to this are temperature related, tensile related, or crush related. Okay, so that leads to micro bending because if, for example, I'll take one example under this, that is temperature T. So if I say that it's a temperature related loss. So whenever the temperature is more and more, I already told that the fiber is placed in so many types of environments. one may be into an environment where the environmental condition such that it is having a very low temperature or it is having a very high temperature. For example, if I say a fiber is placed in such an environment where the temperature is very high, then the fiber may exhibit some sort of bending due to the high temperature. So even that is a loss related to a temperature variation, and it is also a part of a bending loss. But the fiber may not bend more, but it may bend by a small value in terms of some uh, micrometers, not even micrometer or less than that. So it is negligible. You cannot identify the micro bending losses. So that is based on a temperature, that may be based on tensile, or that may be based on a crush related. Okay, some force is applied on such fibers which are placed. So that can happen, due to which the fiber may bend. Okay, so that is also a cause for bending, which is micro bending. Then the effects of micro bending on a multimode fiber can result in increased attenuation. Okay, if I consider a micro bending occurs in a fiber, that results in the attenuation to increase. So that is a possibility, and also it depends on the wavelength, because we see that the attenuation can be minimized if we increase the operating wavelength. Okay, alpha can be reduced. So that is what it depends on the wavelength. Then these effects can be minimized during the installation and testing process. So this is very important. So how to minimize this micro bending losses? Micro bending losses can be minimized during a process of installation and testing. Okay, so this should be known, and this diagram you can see this is a micro bending losses. Okay, so this is just a rough figure or rough diagram what we have written here, but actually if it is a micro bending, it is not visible. Okay, then you can see this is a micro bend, and this is a power coupling to higher order mode. So whatever we send here, pi, p naught. Okay, and here you can see that the power is lost at this point. So this is nothing but a small bend, micro bend. Maybe a small amount of light escapes or radiates out. Then macro bending. The macro bending losses are caused by large scale bending. See the difference in this and this. So here you can see that small bend. You can see small variation here, but here you see. Okay. So the figure illustrates macro bending. So see here the optical rays are propagating in a fiber and it is radiating out. Then the loss can be represented by a radiation attenuation coefficient. Okay, it is just a representation as alpha r. Alpha is nothing but attenuation. Okay, attenuation. Why we cannot just give an expression for bending loss is that alpha is dependent on bending loss. Okay, if I say the attenuation alpha, this attenuation is due to the bending loss. Earlier I told you that we have studied about Rayleigh scattering, right? And this Rayleigh scattering, based on the Rayleigh scattering, the alpha changes, or Rayleigh scattering is contributing for attenuation. Similarly here, this bending loss is a contributor to alpha. So the attenuation in fiber occurs due to the bending loss. The attenuation in the fiber occurs due to the Rayleigh scattering. Okay, so both type of losses are different because different parameters are creating this type of losses in the fiber. Then alpha R is C1, C1 and C2 are constant here. C1 and C2. So C1 exponential minus C2 into R. So R is the radius of curvature. So now you can see that whatever value of alpha we consider, that is attenuation depends on R, that is radius of curvature. And because C1 and C2 are constant value, we consider R as a factor based on which the value of alpha is going to be affected. Then large bending losses occurs in multimode fibers at critical radius of curvature. So RC. So this is the RC. So bending losses which occurs in a multimode fiber at this RC. So we can determine what is the value of RC at which the bending loss is occurred. So this is the expression. We should know that RC is equal to 3n1 square lambda divided by 4.2 square n1 square minus n2 square to the power 3 by 2. So this is the radius of curvature for a multimode fiber. So in this, there might be a problem which exists to find the attenuation alpha. Find the attenuation due to bending loss, or to find refractive index if RC is known, or to find lambda, or to find N2. Okay, so these are the possibilities of question which may arise. To find the attenuation alpha based on bending losses or bending loss, to find the radius of curvature, or to find the refractive index, or to find refractive index N2, or to find the wavelength lambda. Then macro bending losses are reduced by, so this is one thing, micro bending losses because it is very less or it is negligible, there is no question of reducing it by any precautions or measures. Okay, then coming to macro bending, it can be reduced by some of the measures. One is designing a fiber with large relative refractive index difference, that is delta. So in order to minimize macro bending loss, the fibers are to be designed using a very high value of delta. So this should be the first measure to reduce the macro bending losses. Then operating at the shortest wavelength. So operating at the possible shortest wavelength, macro bending losses can be avoided. Then the critical radius of curvature for a single mode fiber. So earlier what we have seen is a multi-mode fiber. For single mode fiber, you can see that it is RCS. Okay, a small change in the variable, instead of RC, it is RCS. It is for single mode, just RC is for multi-mode. Then, so RCS is 20 lambda divided by N1 minus N2 to the power 3 by 2 into 2.748 minus 0.996 into lambda by lambda C to the power minus 3. Okay, so this is the expression what we use to find the radius of curvature for a single mode fiber. Again, in this, they may ask you to explain what is the radius of curvature or determine radius of curvature for a single mode fiber, or to determine lambda, which is a wavelength, or to determine N1, which is the refractive index of a core, and N2 refractive index of a cladding, or lambda C, that is the cutoff wavelength. Or any of these parameters, these many parameters are given, and one variable you have to determine, either to find RCS, or you are supposed to find N1, or supposed to find lambda, whatever, or lambda C and other things are given, you have to find RCS. Okay, so this is the type of question in the form of a problem you can expect from the micro and macro bending losses. Then we'll see that problem later. We have it in a slide. We'll just go through that, and how it is solved we will see. That's all. Then core and cladding loss. This is not so important, but just understand what is this core and cladding loss. Since core and cladding have different refractive indices, they have different attenuation coefficients. That is, what we have seen earlier is constant C1 and C2 and R. Similarly, we have attenuation coefficients, okay, which is again alpha only. So the core and cladding will have different refractive indices, hence they have different attenuation coefficients. Okay, so just know this, not required to be used or written anywhere, just to understand it. Then comes a very important one, signal distortion. Signal distortion in an optical waveguide. So the pulse gets distorted as it travels along the fiber length. So this is a known uh, fact. We already studied about that earlier. Whenever a light is propagating in a fiber, as it is propagating for some length of the fiber, it is going to degrade. Okay, it is going to be distorted. That is a known thing. We have already discussed about that. As it progresses and progresses and progresses, the amplitude of the signal is going to be affected, or any factor of the signal is going to be affected. So normally we consider amplitude. So there is reduction in the signal strength. Signal strength is reduced as it progresses. So that is what the pulse get distorted as it travels along the fiber lengths. And pulse spreading in a fiber is referred to as dispersion. This we have discussed earlier. Spreading in the fiber. So the light gets scattered in a fiber, we have seen under Rayleigh scattering. Here the pulse is spreading. It means that the pulse is changing its shape. If I say this is a pulse which is sent, and this has some interval, and this has some interval. Again this has some interval, and this part has some interval. Just a minute. So this is 0, this is 1, this is 0, this is 1, this is 0. If I say this is a pulse what I am sending in the optical fiber, which I have coupled into the fiber in the form of a light, then this will have certain time interval T1. This will have time interval T2. This will be having T3, this will be T4, this will be T5. But if I say pulse spreading, it means that the shape of the pulse is going to be changed because it spreads. So 0 is not for the interval T1. T1 plus delta. Not delta is relative refractive index difference. Delta is small value, additional value or small change. Okay, if not, we will not consider this delta in example. Small delta will take. Small delta. So now you can see that the pulse is spread by an amount delta. Similarly, if this is changed, what happens to T2? T2 should always change again because T1 is taking some position of T2 in terms of interval, in terms of delta, small value. Whether it is in terms of microseconds or lesser than that, that doesn't matter, but still it is a loss. So each and every time interval in the pulse is going to be affected. So that is dispersion. Then dispersion is caused by difference in the propagation times of light rays that takes different path during the propagation. Okay, so this what I told is only for one optical signal. If I consider n, say for example n is 5, so 5 optical signals are propagated, 5 pulses we are sending, say example 5 pulses we are sending. So if there is a difference in the propagation time, one is propagating at a time T1, another is propagating at a time T2, but T1 and T2 should be similar or it should be same. If it is not, T2 is greater than by amount delta, that is what we have seen here. This is what I told you about only one optical pulse. If I take n numbers, then there is a difference in the propagation time which results in the dispersion. Then the light pulses traveling down the fiber encounter dispersion because of the pulse spreads out in the time domain. Okay, so that's what I told. time interval. So time interval is going to be affected if I consider a process of spreading. Okay, similar to take an example of just a water bubble. Okay, so I will take not water bubble, water drop. One drop of water I'll just keep here. Now you see this is the diameter of that. Here we consider it as time. Okay, time interval of a pulse, maybe zeros and ones. Now, if I see that this pulse is or this water drop is spread, this is going to spread. Now, what is this? It is a spreaded water drop. Right. So now you can see that this is changed. This interval is changed. Diameter is changed. This also was earlier different. This is now different. Similar with the optical pulse. Earlier 0 is having something, 1 is having something. Now 0 is changed, 1 is also changed. This should be actual T. This should be actual T. But now this is for the second part. So that is a problem. So pulse spreading occurs and it is a dispersion. Dispersion limits the information bandwidth. Obviously, if the time interval is going to change, the bandwidth is going to be affected. If the bandwidth is going to be affected, the information carrying capacity of such fibers will be affected. Okay, if bandwidth is going to be reduced, automatically it says that the information carrying capacity of such fibers is going to be reduced because information carrying capacity depends on the bandwidth. If bandwidth is more, higher information carrying capacity. So we have seen this under advantages of optical fibers. Then the distortion effects can be analyzed by studying the group velocities in a guided modes. So this is a problem based on the radius of curvature, determining it from the bending losses. Okay, see that two-step index fibers exhibits the following parameters. First thing is a multimode fiber with a core refractive index of 1.5. So first you can note down core refractive index is N1, 1.5. A relative refractive index difference is 3%. So delta is relative refractive index difference, which is 3%. So we cannot have the percentage value. It has to be in a value. We cannot write it in terms of percentage. So 3 by 100 will get some value. Then operating wavelength is lambda, which is 0.8382 micrometers. This is the first thing. Second thing, so first thing is related to multimode. So remember multimode fiber. Then second, an 8 micrometer core diameter single mode fiber. So second is single mode fiber. 8 micrometer core diameter. So D is 8 micrometer. Then with a core index same as A. So N1 is same, which is 1.5. Then a relative refractive index difference of 0.3. So earlier it was 3%. Now it is again reduced by 10 times. So it is 0.3%. So 0.3% is 0.3 by 100 again. So that some value will get. And an operating wavelength lambda, earlier it was 0.82. Now it is changed to 1.55. Now he says that estimate the critical radius of curvature. So for multimode, radius of curvature is RC. For single mode, radius of curvature is RCS. So we have the formula which is already been given from microbending losses. So use that formula and find what is RC, find what is RCS. Okay. So that is about a problem. So RCS and RC. Just a substitution and getting a value in terms of micrometers. Okay, any doubt in that problem? What I just explained you, how it has been solved in this?
No, sir. No doubt.
Okay, so after the problem which is given in the slide, the same kind of problem you will find in the text. Okay, the PDF what I have sent, just go through that. Then next, dispersion and attenuation of pulse traveling along the fiber. Okay, so this is how the spreading occurs. So just now I told you with the ones and zeros. The same thing here, it is taken as a pulse like this. What I have taken earlier is like this. Okay, so you can see this is the amplitude, this is a time interval. So we can see that there is a overlap at this particular point. There is a overlap, means the pulse is getting dispersed. It is undergoing dispersion. Pulse spreading occurs in the fiber. So what happens if it occurs? If it occurs, then it is very difficult to distinguish. So we say that indistinguishable pulses. We cannot distinguish one pulse with the other because they are overlapping. We cannot identify which is 1, which is 0. And at till what time interval it is 1, till what time interval it is 0, and till what time interval again it is going to be 1 or 0. So that is unknown. So it cannot be distinguished. So it is indistinguishable pulses. You can see that in the diagram 3 or figure C. Then you can see this, there might be no zero level because the pulse is overlapping. Here you can see that there is a zero level. Here also you can see that there is zero level interval. But as the pulse travels more and more in a fiber, so this might be for say initial, let's say 100-meter travel. This may be for 1 kilometer travel in the fiber. This may be for 1.2 kilometer or 1.5 kilometer travel. So as it progresses throughout the length, the dispersion is going to be more and more. Then figure shows traveling some distance, so that's what I told you. Pulse starts broadening and overlap with the neighboring pulses. At certain distance, the pulses are not even distinguishable. Okay, and error will occur at the receiver. So the receiver cannot identify what the transmitter has transmitted. For example, if transmitter has transmitted say 1011, but when it reaches the receiver, due to the pulse spreading, 1011 will be obtained as an error at the receiver. Maybe 0 is completely indistinguishable, 1 may occur, 0 may occur, again 0 may occur. We don't know what may occur at the receiver. So like this we can consider the dispersion, and that is termed as inter-symbol interference. That overlapping is inter-symbol interference because the symbol which are the neighbors, 1 is a neighbor of 0, 0 is a neighbor of 1, or 1 is a neighbor of 1, 0 is also a neighbor of 0 in some optical pulse what we send. If that is the case, then the symbols are overlapping. They are interfering with each other. One is overlapping with the other. So that is termed as inter-symbol interference. Okay. So this is a very important concept. Then the information carrying capacity is specified by a bandwidth distance product. So bandwidth is in hertz, gigahertz, and the distance is in kilometers. So this you have to remember. And for a step index fiber, bandwidth distance product is 20 megahertz kilometer, and for graded index it is 2.5 megahertz kilometer. Okay, so these are the values you should know. This is not required when you go with ISI explanation. Okay, so next is group delay. So earlier we have seen due to the propagation time, different propagation time or different group velocities, the overlapping of the pulses may occur or the pulse may start spreading in the optical fiber. So what is it? What is that? See, consider a fiber carrying optical signal equally with various modes, and each mode contains all the spectral components in the wavelength. Okay, it's a normal signal which is going to be coupled into the fiber. All the spectral components travel independently and they observe different delay and group delay in the direction of propagation. So this is very important concept. It will have different time delay and different group delay in the direction of propagation. Due to this only there is dispersion which occurs. There is spreading of pulse which occurs. The spectral components, they are traveling independently and they observe different time delay and different group delay in the direction of signal propagation. And the velocity at which the energy in a pulse travels along the fiber is a group velocity. So this is just a small definition. It's not been asked and it will not be asked. It is just to understand what is a group delay, what is a group velocity. Okay, the velocity at which the energy in a pulse travel. It is normally the speed of the pulse. That's all. The speed of the pulse, which is the energy in a signal or energy in a pulse. That is called as group velocity. Velocity is normally the speed what we consider. Speed, distance traveled by time taken. That is what we consider as speed or velocity. Distance by time. So for what distance, what length of the fiber, the optical signal is going to travel. So that gives the energy. We can determine the energy. If energy is more in the pulse, it will travel faster, reducing the amount of dispersion. Thus, different frequency components in a signal will travel at different group velocities. Okay, if frequency components are different, then they will have different group velocities. So this you should understand. And they will arrive at the destination at different times. So if different frequency components in a signals are considered, they are going to travel with a different group velocities because of their different frequency components. Okay, so that you should know. Then next is pulse broadening in different fibers. Okay, so this is just a understanding. Pulse broadening in a fiber. How the pulse broadening is different in different types of fibers. So that is what we are supposed to study under this. So they may ask you to explain the pulse broadening. Explain pulse broadening in the optical fibers. So you should be able to explain how the pulse gets broadened in all the fibers. So one first thing is multimode step index fiber exhibit greatest dispersion of a transmitted light pulse. Then multimode graded index fiber gives considerable improved performance. Then single mode fiber gives minimum pulse broadening and is capable of greatest transmission bandwidth. So these three. One is single mode step index fiber, how it performs, and multimode step index fiber followed by a multimode graded index fiber. So we consider three. Maybe here four, no, three only. Okay. So step index, graded index, and step index working in a single mode and multimode, and graded index working only in a multimode. Then the amount of pulse broadening is dependent on distance. So that is a known thing, what we already considered earlier. The amount of pulse broadening is dependent on distance. So as the optical signal propagates more and more in the fiber with a very high length of the fiber or a very high distance, a very larger distance in a fiber, we say that the amount of pulse broadening is increased. So distance increases, not distance, length increases, or the distance of travel of the optical ray increases. If this increases, pulse broadening is increased. Okay, so that we can see with the diagram. So you can see here in terms of T, in terms of A, in terms of time interval, and in terms of amplitude of the pulse. So see here, this is a multimode step index fiber. This is the input coupled into the optical fiber, and this is the output signal obtained from the fiber. So this is how the signal propagates in a fiber. Now you see the amplitude. Now you see the amplitude. So the amplitude of the signal is drastically reduced. It is drastically reduced. And what about the time interval? See here, time interval. What about time interval here? So time interval is increased. It means pulse broadening is very high. In what? Multimode step index fiber. Okay, so this is the first thing. Second type of fiber is graded index fiber. Sorry. No, this is graded index. See the shape. This is graded. This is step. This is also a step. Mistake. Okay, mistake in the text. Okay. So this is graded index fiber. Now see here. This is graded index. Signal transmission is not in this form, but it is in this form. Like this. Okay, so this represents graded index. Now you see the amplitude. See the amplitude. It is reduced. It is reduced, but not much as the previous case. So here this is the amplitude. Now interval, time interval. Time interval is increased. It means the pulse broadening has occurred in such fiber also, but lesser compared to step index multimode operated fiber. Then coming to the last, that is single mode step index fiber. Amplitude. So amplitude is reduced slightly. Then time interval not so much reduced, but see the position, it is just spread. It has changed its position. Okay, but we will discuss only two things here, time and amplitude, or time interval and amplitude. So by looking into this, we can have an inference that the step index fiber, which is operating as a single mode fiber, will have a low dispersion. Whereas the step index fiber, which is operating as a multimode fiber, will have a very high amount of dispersion, and graded index fiber will have considerable amount of dispersion. So that is what we have used here. See, considerably improved performance, multimode graded index. Multimode step index, greatest dispersion. Single mode fiber, minimum pulse broadening. Then, okay, before coming to this problem, we have to go with this particular example or the expression. Okay, I'll come back to this, how it is solved. Simple, again, same thing. Not a difficult one to solve. So before coming back, before going to that, we'll come back later by discussing this. Dispersion in optical fiber can be of two types. Okay, one is intramodal, one is intermodal. Okay, so just now what we have studied is dispersion, how it occurs. Pulse spreading occurs, and dispersion occurs in a fiber. But what are the types of dispersion? So one is intramodal, that is chromatic dispersion. What is that intramodal? Intramodal is within the same mode, intra, within the same mode, or it is also termed as chromatic dispersion, or a material dispersion. You can see here, material waveguide you don't have. Okay, so material dispersion. So material dispersion is nothing but the material used in a fiber. Okay, so that is responsible for the dispersion to occur in a fiber, material of a fiber. Any problem in a material, any irregularities in a material, imperfections in the fiber material, improper selection of fiber material. So all these things are nothing but material dispersion. All these things are the causes for dispersion which occurs due to the material, that is material dispersion. So we consider it as intramodal or chromatic dispersion, or it is a material dispersion. Intermodal is the dispersion occurs due to the different modes. So remember that this is within the mode, this is between the modes. Modal dispersion. The number of modes can propagate down the fiber. Each of these modes will have their own propagation time. So we have already discussed about that. If n number of modes are in a fiber, each node will have a different propagation time, and they arrive at a different instance of time at the receiver. So that is the basic idea of the number of modes. Then the net effect is spreading of a pulse. This form of dispersion is called modal dispersion. The net effect, the total effect, is spreading of a pulse, which is termed as modal dispersion. Then modal dispersion, where it takes place in multimode fibers. Then it is moderately present in graded index fiber and almost eliminated in a single mode step index fiber. Okay, so these are the things what you should know. No need to discuss all these things, but it is just required to understand. Then this is a very important one, how to avoid ISI. Just before we have studied what is ISI. Okay, how ISI is obtained and how the pulses are left non-distinguishable, and how the pulses are overlapping, and how the zero levels in a pulse is eliminated or lost, etc. So those are nothing but ISI. But how can we avoid ISI? So that is, for no overlapping of the light pulse in an optical link, a digital bit rate must be less than the reciprocal of the broadened pulse duration. Okay, so this you should know. The bit rate, that is BT, bit rate or transfer rate, is to be lesser than or equal to 1 by 2 times tau, which is inversely proportional to the broadened pulse duration. So this, if it is satisfied, then that can avoid ISI. This one expression you should know. BT less than or equal to 1 by 2 tau. Now again, if they ask you to explain, or if they ask you to explain how you are going to avoid ISI, you should be able to explain this with an expression. And based on this expression, even you can find a problem, either to find tau or to find BT. Then the maximum bit rate is given by this. This is the bit rate BT, whereas the maximum bit rate is given by approximated to 0.2 by sigma bit per second. So this is, again, you should know. And the maximum bandwidth is 1/2 of the data rate or the bit rate. So BT max is already known. So bandwidth is half of BT max. So maximum bandwidth is one half the maximum data rate. Maximum data rate. So these three expressions you should know, based on which you have to determine either tau or bt or b or sigma or bt max. Okay, so a problem may arise under this concept. bt, determining tau, determining sigma, or determining b or beta max. bt max, sorry. Then this is very important derivation. Normally it is asked for 8 marks. Explain the material dispersion in fibers, or derive an expression to find the material dispersion parameter in a fiber. So that is capital M. So capital M you have to determine. So that is a small derivation what we have to do to find the material dispersion parameter. So are you there? No one is sleeping, right?
No, sir.
Okay, I have to believe. Okay, so material dispersion. The first thing what we have to discuss under this is when the material dispersion occurs in terms of mathematical equation. Okay, so theory whatever we have studied earlier is just to understand how the dispersion occurs and how to minimize or reduce the dispersion, or how to avoid the intersymbol interference, which is a sort of or which is a type of dispersion. So these are the things what we have discussed. Now we have to put that in terms of one equation that is termed as material, one variable, that is material dispersion parameter. Because material dispersion occurs due to different aspects, but how to measure it? That is measured only by knowing the value of material dispersion parameter capital M. If we consider what is capital M, or I can reduce the material dispersion by operating a fiber at a particular wavelength. Okay, so we'll see that later. So at 1.3 micrometer, the material dispersion is 0, means there is no material dispersion. So that is what we will understand at a point where material dispersion is lesser, where the material dispersion is 0, and where the material dispersion is increasing or more. Okay, so in order to understand it, we require a material dispersion parameter. So in a material dispersion parameter expression, if we identify based on what variable we can minimize the amount of dispersion. So that is done only if we go with the mathematical approach. So pulse spreading due to material dispersion results from a different group of velocities. So this is discussed. This is also discussed. Now, mathematically, if I have an approach for a material dispersion, a material dispersion is said to exhibit, a material is said to exhibit material dispersion when the second differential of the refractive index, that is n, with respect to wavelength lambda is not 0. That is, the second order differential or second differential of refractive index, second differential is d square. Okay, dy by dx. First order differential. Second order differential d square y by dx square. Right. So second differential of the refractive index n by, with respect to wavelength, d lambda square is not equal to 0. If this is not equal to 0, then a material dispersion is said to exhibit material dispersion. Okay, so this is the first equation what you have to note for material dispersion parameter to be derived. So that is d square n1 by d lambda square is not equal to 0. Now see here, whatever we use in the in deriving the material dispersion parameter, those expressions are given directly. Okay, so don't think much about the expression given. Now, hence the group delay is given by, group delay is expressed as tau g. Group delay is equal to, if you want to understand it in detail, what is group delay, how we got tau g is equal to this and that, you have to study electromagnetic waves. Okay, I don't think you are going to study it again. Okay, not required. So tau g is d beta by d omega, which is equal to 1 by c, and c is the velocity of light in vacuum, into n1. n1 is refractive index of core minus lambda operating wavelength into first differentiation or first order differential of n1 with respect to lambda. So this is tau g group delay. Now you can see that where n1 is the refractive index of core material, and now the pulse delay we call it as tau m. Pulse delay as tau m. Group delay as tau g. Then due to a material dispersion for the length of the fiber or of the length of the fiber L is given by L by C into n1 minus lambda into dn1 by d lambda. Okay, so now we have three different equations: equation 1, equation 2, equation 3. Now there is a relation between group delay and the pulse delay. These are related. What is that relation? That relation is for a source with RMS spectral width sigma and a mean wavelength lambda, the RMS pulse broadening due to material dispersion is obtained by a Taylor series. So Taylor series is already known to you from mathematics. Same thing, but they have expressed in terms of sigma. Sigma m. Sigma m is equal to sigma lambda into the first differential of tau m. What is tau m? Tau m is the pulse delay, etc., which also have pulse delay, where the differential order is going to change. So this is second order, this is first order, then comes third order, then comes fourth order, then comes nth order. So this is a Taylor series which is given for a particular dispersion, that is sigma m. Sigma m. Now, as the first term in the equation dominates, so this is dominating. It means it is the one which is very much required in the equation, which gives the maximum value, and the remaining term gives a minimum value. Say for example, this may give 1.5, remaining may give you 0.002, others again may give you 0.0004, etc. So this is the dominant value, this is the dominant term. So if this is a dominant term, whatever I have after this can be removed or they can be neglected. So especially for the sources operating at this wavelength, I can consider only this, remaining can be neglected. So this is what I have taken. So sigma m is equal to, see here it is approximated. Okay, so sigma tau sigma lambda into d tau m by d lambda. So this is equation 4. Now, we have equation 3 here. Now, we have to derive this, we have to differentiate this equation to get d tau m by the lambda wavelength with respect to lambda. So I can get d tau m by d lambda only if I differentiate this with respect to lambda. So that is what I do. See, I want d tau m by d lambda because I have d tau m by d lambda in equation 4 in the expression. So what I do, I will differentiate tau m with respect to lambda. So differentiating with respect to lambda, what I get, this equation. If I differentiate this, d tau m by d lambda is LHS L into lambda by C into dn1 by lambda minus d square n1 by d lambda square minus dn1 by d lambda. So this is first L remains as it is, C constant. This n1 is dn1 by d lambda minus this is in terms of u into v dash product rule. So it is lambda into derivative of dn by d lambda and dn by d lambda into derivative of lambda. So these two terms will be cancelled, which results in minus, this is equals minus L lambda by C, this one, into minus d square n1 by d lambda square. So minus I kept here. So therefore substituting in the expression, what I can get, this part I will substitute. This d lambda by d tau m by d lambda is this now, equation 5. So I will substitute equation 5 in equation 4. Right hand side, this I have to substitute. So this is what I have substituted. Sigma m is equal to sigma lambda is same into this. Okay, so this is nothing but minus L by C lambda into d square n1 by d lambda square. Okay, but this minus I will remove. So in order to remove that, I will use a modulus, or I will use a mod of x, something for minus x, and replace that by mod of x. So hence the material dispersion parameter can be defined by this. M is equal to, because I have taken sigma m as a pulse broadening due to material dispersion. Pulse broadening due to material dispersion. So material dispersion parameter is defined or is represented by capital M. So if I measure the pulse material dispersion parameter, I can know RMS pulse broadening which occurs due to the material dispersion. So this is a measure of material dispersion. So it is 1 by L into d tau m by d lambda, or which is equal to lambda by C. So this term lambda and C, lambda by C into d square n1 by d lambda square with its modulus, with its mod. So this is expressed in this units. PS per Newton, PS per nanometer per kilometer. So this is the expression what you get for a material dispersion parameter. Okay, so now, so this is a problem based on material dispersion parameter. So this is a problem based on BT, then tau, dispersion, and one more thing they might ask, bandwidth length product. So if you know the bandwidth, if you know the length, just multiply. So that will be the bandwidth length product. So it is what we expressed earlier here. Bandwidth distance product or bandwidth length product. Okay, so megahertz, gigahertz, something into kilometers. So same thing, what you get here. See here, megahertz, kilometers. So just bandwidth multiplied by length of the fiber. Okay. So you just go through that. This is how the simple problem is, finding BT or finding the dispersion or finding tau or finding bandwidth length product. Then again here, finding the material dispersion parameter. So you can see that this formula is given, known. So apply the formula. So he says that a glass fiber exhibits material dispersion given by this. So material dispersion is given. You have to determine the material dispersion parameter. Material dispersion is what? Sigma m. Parameter is this. So this is given. This to be determined. Then RMS pulse broadening is asked. Sigma m is equal to sigma lambda into L by C into mod of d square L1 by d lambda square into lambda. So this expression. So just the usage of the formula what we have discussed and finding the values of m or finding the value of sigma m. Okay, so this is one type of problem what you can get. So wherever you find one problem, one derivation or one formula, immediately after that you can have one problem, and that problem may have n different types. If there are 6 variables in an expression, any variable to be determined can be asked. So either a parameter on the left hand side or a variable on the right hand side, any one. Okay, so this is how you are going to solve. So just go through the problems, example problems what we have. Then you can have with your text problem. Then, so earlier I told you regarding M, that is material dispersion with respect to wavelength, and I told you that material dispersion parameter is 0, means there is no material dispersion if the fiber is operating at 1.3 micrometer. So this is what I have highlighted. Region of negligible material dispersion. So here you can see it is at 1.3. The material dispersion is 0. And if it is operating lesser than, for a value of lambda lesser than 1 micrometer, then the material dispersion parameter is very high. So if lambda is increased, material dispersion goes down. And at particular point of lambda 1.3 micrometer, material dispersion parameter is 0. So this has to be written when you explain material dispersion. So this is very important. This has to be explained. This has to be mentioned in the form of a graph. The same thing what I have written here. So wavelength at 1.3 micrometer for pure silica, material dispersion tends to 0. Okay, then this is the same formula problem which uses the same formula what we have used earlier. Then intermodal, is it possible? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pages, 8 slides. Time 3:20. Okay, another 10 minutes I can complete. So we'll go with one more, intermodal dispersion. So earlier what we have discussed was intramodal dispersion, which is material dispersion. Now we are going to discuss about intermodal dispersion, which is not a material dispersion. Okay. So what is this intermode? Intermode is one where the dispersion, intermodal dispersion is one where the dispersion occurs due to different modes propagating in a fiber. Earlier we discussed about intramodal, which is a dispersion within the same mode. Okay. Are you there, students?
Yes, sir.
Same 60 or less now or more?
Same, sir.
Just a minute. $60. Now it is $48. It means 47 students are there.
No, sir. Some are having network issues, sir. In the middle, they will go, sir, some people.
Okay. So okay. So this is again a very important expression to be derived. So that is last final result. They'll ask you to derive this delta TS. Derive delta TS is equal to L into numerical aperture the whole square divided by 2N1 into C. So they might ask you directly to derive this particular expression, or they might ask you to explain intermodal dispersion in a fiber. There is nothing to do with the explanation of intermodal dispersion. So normally they will ask for 8 marks to derive or to explain intermodal dispersion. You should be able to derive it along with maybe one line explanation. Okay, so that is enough to this for this. Now theory, you just go through that. I will not go with the detail in theory here. How the derivation is done, I'll tell you. See, I told you about intermodal. Intermodal means different modes, reaction between different modes, interaction between different modes, intermodal. So here we consider two different modes, two different rays which are propagated in a fiber. One is a axial ray. Okay, so you see here, one is an axial ray. One is a meridional ray. So we have two different rays which are being considered here. One is a axial ray, one is a meridional ray. Now we have early saw about types of rays, that is Q rays, axial ray and meridional ray. Okay, and forget about a skew ray because it has got so many limitations that is not being used in the optical communication system. So we use only two types, that is axial ray and meridional ray. And whenever I say axial ray, it is preferred to be used only in a monomode propagation in a fiber, whereas this meridional ray is used for multimode operation in a fiber. Now I will take both the rays which are propagating in a fiber. Okay, so we will assume that, let us assume that axial ray and meridional ray are traveling or propagating in an optical fiber. And whenever I look into the speed of these two optical ray, axial ray, you know that it will never exhibit any sort of reflection. So it travels along the fiber core axis. So it travels very fast. Whereas meridional ray, it exhibits total internal reflection, so that there is a propagation delay. There is a delay with the meridional ray to propagate in a fiber. So it reaches the destination or the fiber output slower compared to the axial ray. Axial ray is faster. Okay. So that is the two concepts what we use here. Using the ray theory model, the fastest and the slowest modes propagating in the step index fiber may be represented by axial ray and meridional ray. So fastest is axial, slowest is meridional. Okay. So for axial ray, T minimum, that is a time, is equal to distance by velocity. Simple basics of physics. Time taken is equal to distance traveled by the velocity, or what we have is a velocity equal to distance traveled by time taken. I have just rearranged it. So velocity equal to distance by time. So just I have taken time is equal to distance by velocity. So distance is L kilometer of the fiber. Velocity is C by N. Velocity is C by N. That is the velocity of light in the vacuum to the refractive index. Okay, because the refractive index is equal to velocity of light in vacuum to the velocity of light in the medium. The same thing I have taken here. So if I cross multiply, N1 is equal to what? C by velocity. So this is velocity of light in vacuum to the velocity of light in the medium is giving us refractive index. Okay, same thing. So this is ln1 by c. So I'll take equation 1. Then meridional ray T max. So why I have taken T minimum? Time taken is minimum axial ray because it is faster. Time taken is more for a meridional ray. So it is slower. So it is T max. L by cos theta by Cn1. Here we have only L. Here we have L by cos theta. We have one more term by angle because it exhibits total internal reflection. Whenever it reflects, it forms an angle. Whenever it reflects, it is forming an angle like this. So that angle are taken here as cos of angle theta. So if I just cross multiply the denominator with the numerator, ln1 by c cos theta. So ln1 by c is 1, ln1 by c cos theta is 1. Now, these are the theory, just go through that, nothing much required there. Now, delta Ts, that is the delay difference. One is faster, one is slower. I want to find the delay. If I want to find the delay, if I subtract the delay time interval between these two, I can get what is the delay. Say for example, T max, maximum time taken is 3 microseconds to reach the destination, and axial ray is very fast, it takes only 1 microsecond to reach. So 2 microsecond is a delay. Sorry, 2 microsecond is the delay between the axial ray and meridional ray. So using that concept into account, T max minus T minimum will be the delay difference. So T max is known, T max is known, T minimum is known. But here I have cos theta. I don't have any expression derived for cos theta. So what I do is sin theta. I just convert it into sin. So here sin is equal to, or sin theta is equal to n2 by n1 is equal to cos theta. Okay, so remember this we have already done. Same thing I have written here. So I will substitute here cos theta by n2 by n1. So I will substitute it. So I'll get T max as L N1 squared by C N2 instead of L N1 by C cos theta. So I just replaced for cos theta. Now, once it is done, I will subtract it. I will subtract T minimum from this. So T max minus T minimum. This is T max. T minimum is Ln1 by C. Now if I subtract, I'll get Ln1 square by N2 into C into N1 minus N2 by N1. But we have earlier discussed about a relation between numerical aperture and delta as N1 minus N2 by 2N1 square or N1 minus N2 square by 2N1 square or N1 minus N2 by 2N1 is equal to delta for delta very much lesser than 1. So we have studied that. Using the same concept, I'll just replace this term by delta. See here, Ln1 square delta by Cn2 when delta is very much lesser than 1. Okay, I've just substituted that. Now, this is what I have substituted. What I get is Ln1 delta by C. Next, we have a relation between numerical aperture and delta. That is 2 into delta is equal to 2 N1 square. Okay, we have something like this. Delta is equal to 2 N1 square. So into numerical aperture, some value we have. So now I'll express just delta in terms of 2 N1 square and numerical aperture. So we have done this in module 1. So recalling the same, I will substitute. On substituting, I'll get delta Ts is equal to L into Na the whole square by 2 N1 into C. Then for multimode fiber, it is gradient index fiber with multimode fiber gradient index type. We take it as delta G, delay difference. For this, we take it as delta Ts. This is for step index. So this is the expression what we expect to be derived for a intermodal dispersion. So for gradient index, there is no derivation, but there is a formula what you have to know. Okay, I think this is the end of this particular intermodal dispersion. Yes. So this is the formula what we have to arrive at. Now again, after deriving intermodal dispersion, you may get a problem to find delta Ts, where length of the fiber is given, numerical aperture is given, or refractive index N1 is given, or to find numerical aperture if delta Ts, L, N1 and C is given, or to find N1, delta Ts, numerical aperture, L and C is given. So you have to find N1. So this type of problem may be asked under this intermodal dispersion. Similarly, with multimode gradient index, they may ask you to find what is the delay difference or intermodal dispersion. Determine the intermodal dispersion for a multimode gradient index fiber with numerical aperture this, then refractive index this, with length of the fiber this, or multimode step index fiber. So that is delta Ts. One you have to use delta Tg, one is delta Ts. So for delta Ts, you have a derivation to be done. For delta Tg, you do not have a derivation to be done. It is a direct expression what you can write for delta Tg. So this is related to intermodal dispersion. This is related to intermodal dispersion. So just go through the problems based on this intermodal dispersion. So I think here, mm, hmm. So see in 3.8 we can find that problem. This is a problem based on intermodal dispersion delta Ts, and this also includes the previous concept. Okay, so then comes the okay, so then comes the optical fiber connectors, splicers, and couplers. Okay, so if this is completed, so where we are into 70th slide tomorrow. So I think yesterday 70, 130. So 50% is done. So 50% has to be done. Okay. And again, parallelly, you just go with the problems. And if you have any doubt, note it down. So after the completion of this, we will solve it from even first and second, both. If you have doubt, both the modules, you get the problems, we will solve it. Okay. Then only we will go with the module 3. So most probably, whatever time we require, maybe we are going to complete 4 modules. Okay, first, second, third, fourth, okay, and fifth. Fourth is half and fifth is half. Okay, and rest fifth unit, fifth module, remaining is entirely theory. I'll give you the material. You just study that if required. Okay, so first prepare yourself for first 3 modules fully, and fourth module half. So where you can expect one question, and module fifth half. So that where you can expect one more question. So you can answer all the 5 questions. Okay. So I'll stop here. So I'll stop here. So anyway, today stop presenting. Okay. So too much for the day. Okay, fine. So we'll end up today. We'll conclude the session today. Tomorrow I'll just take. One more thing. Tomorrow I don't think I may be able to take the session. Is it okay? Or if required, I'll take the session after 6 o'clock. I'll leave the choice to you, or at least after 4:30. Because tomorrow it's very difficult to engage the class morning or afternoon. Only after 4 o'clock. Okay. Anyway, Karthikeya, you just message me regarding tomorrow's class. If you require, I'll have the session after 4:30. Okay. If not, we will have the session next day for around 2 hours, so that we can complete most of the topics under module 2.